He's a man of contradictions, a pacifist yet captivated by the beauty of war machines, a visionary storyteller who often found himself haunted by the very stories he told.
スタジオの将来はもうはっきりしてますよ。やっていけなくなります。
Hayao Miyazaki, the genius behind some of the greatest animated films of all time, created worlds filled with wonder while wrestling with complexities of his own. Behind the magic, the artistry, and the awe-inspiring landscapes lies a man shaped by war, loss, and a relentless pursuit of perfection.
これ以上やってもできない。もういい。
But how did a boy who couldn't even draw people become one of the most celebrated filmmakers of all time? Born on January 5th, 1941, in Bunkyo, Tokyo, Hayao Miyazaki entered a world in turmoil. As Japan engaged in World War II, the skies above Tokyo were often filled with the roar of aircrafts. But for young Miyazaki, these planes didn't just signify war, they sparked a lifelong fascination with flight. His father, Katsuji Miyazaki, was an executive at Miyazaki Airplane, a company producing rudders for the planes. The irony of his fascination with flight was not lost on the young boy, as he grew up watching his family's business create machines of war. But this duality, admiring the beauty of flight while recognizing its capacity for destruction, would become a recurring theme in Miyazaki's work. In 1944, fearing bombings in Tokyo, the Miyazaki family moved to Utsunomiya, closer to the family's airplane manufactory. It was here, amidst the chaos of war, that Hayao developed an intimate relationship with nature, playing in the lush gardens surrounding his grandfather's estate. Years later, Miyazaki would recall these moments as inspiration for many of his films. Rich, natural settings, enchanted forests, and small, serene Japanese gardens. The war eventually caught up with the Miyazakis. In July 1945, Utsunomiya was bombed, leaving half the city in ruins. Though Hayao was spared from the worst of the war's devastation, the memory of these bombings, these would haunt him throughout his life. When Hayao was 6, his mother Yoshiko fell ill with spinal tuberculosis, confining her to bed for 8 years. Despite her illness, Yoshiko had a strong presence in her children's lives, and it was from her that Hayao inherited many of his intellectual and moral convictions. An avid reader, Yoshiko introduced her son to literature and the importance of critical thinking. Her influence was profound, particularly in her resilience in the face of adversity. Miyazaki would later incorporate strong, female characters, modelled after his mother in many of his films, women like Nausicaa, Lady Eboshi, and San in Princess Mononoke. They all embodied strength, intelligence, and independence that his mother personified. Even as a child, Miyazaki's fascination with aeroplanes and flight was boundless. He filled notebooks with detailed sketches of planes and machinery. However, there was one significant obstacle. He couldn't draw human figures. While his peers were illustrating characters, young Hayao was captivated by machines, smooth aerodynamic planes, armoured tanks, and colossal battleships. While others focused on people, Miyazaki was enthralled by the mechanics of movement, how things worked, and more importantly, what they represented. He admired the bravery of soldiers, unaware of the harsh reality that war heroes were often victims, forced to die in vain. His early drawings reflected the glory of machinery, but as he grew older, his relationships with these symbols of war became more complicated. In 1958, everything changed for the young artist. Miyazaki saw The Tale of the White Serpent, Japan's first feature-length color anime, and it left him spellbound. For the first time, he had realized the power of animation to tell stories that transcend reality. The film's heroine, a determined and serious young woman, captivated him. He stumbled home in the snow of the night, overcome by emotion, feeling that his life had just been irrevocably changed. From that moment on, Miyazaki knew his path would be in animation. In 1963, Miyazaki joined Toei Animation, a company that would become one of Japan's leading animation studios. Starting at the bottom as an in-between artist, he worked tirelessly to prove himself, filling in the frames between key animations. Despite his lowly position, Miyazaki made an impression. His drive and creativity caught the attention of his superiors, and it wasn't long before he began contributing ideas of his own. In fact, his audacity in suggesting an alternative ending to Gulliver's Travels Beyond the Moon, despite being just an in-between artist, earned him both respect and resentment. One evening, while waiting for the bus after a long day at the studio, Miyazaki struck up a conversation with a colleague who would change his life. Isao Takahata. 6 years his senior, Takahata had already made a name for himself in animation, and the two quickly became close friends. Takahata saw in Miyazaki a kindred spirit, someone with a passion for pushing boundaries of storytelling through animation. Their collaborations would later become legendary. They aimed to elevate animation beyond simple children's entertainment and into the realm of complex emotional storytelling. Though Miyazaki had already made a name for himself by the early 1980s, it was Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind that would truly showcase his genius. Based on the manga by the same name, the film blended epic fantasy with real-world issues of environmental destruction and humanity's place in the ecosystem. Miyazaki's deep admiration for strong female characters is clear in the portrayal of Nausicaa, a princess who is not just brave and compassionate, but also willing to sacrifice everything to save her world. The character mirrored Miyazaki's own philosophical struggle with humanity's relationship to nature, shaped by his memories of wartime destruction and the environmental disasters he witnessed post-war Japan. With the success of Nausicaa, Miyazaki, Takahata, and Toshio Suzuki founded Studio Ghibli in 1985. Their mission was simple: to produce high-quality, full-length feature films that pushed the artistic and narrative limits of animation. Studio Ghibli was born out of the desire to break free from limitations of traditional animation studios. Here Miyazaki and his team could explore complex themes like environmentalism, feminism, and pacifism without compromise. Their first film under the Ghibli banner, Laputa, Castle in the Sky, was a critical success, setting the stage for the studio's legendary future. In 1988, Studio Ghibli released My Neighbor Totoro, a film that would become one of the most beloved animated films in history. Set in rural, post-war Japan, the feature tells the story of two young sisters, Satsuki and Mei, and their magical encounters with the forest spirits, including the now iconic Totoro. Though initially underperforming at the box office, Totoro soon became a cultural phenomenon. The gentle, healing power of nature and childhood innocence struck a chord with audiences around the world. Today, Totoro is not only the mascot of Studio Ghibli, but also a symbol of Japanese culture itself. Throughout his career, Miyazaki's films reflected his deep moral convictions. His narratives often featured strong, independent female protagonists who fought to protect the environment and resist the destructive forces of war and industrialization. In Princess Mononoke, Miyazaki addressed the conflict between progress and nature, presenting a world where industrialization threatens the ancient mystical forests. However, even in this battle, Miyazaki's characters are complex. Lady Eboshi, despite her role in the destruction, is portrayed with empathy, a woman trying to protect her people while unknowingly contributing to their demise. By 2001, Miyazaki was already a revered figure in Japan, but it was Spirited Away that introduced him to a global audience. The film, which tells the story of a young girl named Chihiro, who becomes trapped in a mystical bathhouse, captured the imaginations of audiences worldwide. Spirited Away broke box office records in Japan and became the first non-English film to win an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. The film's mix of childhood wonder, coming-of-age themes, and Miyazaki's signature attention to detail resonated with viewers across cultures, securing his place as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Despite multiple announcements of retirement, Miyazaki never truly stepped away from animation. In 2013, he released The Wind Rises, a film deeply personal to him, set during World War II. It tells the story of Jiro Hirokoshi, the designer of the Zero fighter plane, as he struggles with the moral implications of his invention. The Wind Rises was a reflection of Miyazaki's own internal struggles, his love for aviation, and his guilt over its association with war. It was a contemplative piece, marking a fitting end to his career. Yet, even after this film, the master could not stay away from the drawing board for long. In 2023, after years of anticipation, Hayao Miyazaki returned with The Boy and the Heron. Originally announced as his last film, it was a deeply personal story, inspired by his childhood experiences during World War II. The film follows Mahito, a young boy navigating grief and loss after the death of his mother, as he embarks on a surreal journey through a mystical world with a talking heron. Like Miyazaki's previous works, The Boy and the Heron touches on themes of loss, resilience, and the tension between destruction and creation. Drawing from the director's life and his professional experiences, the film explores the balance between reality and fantasy. Despite being rooted in his personal history, Miyazaki's unique vision transforms The Boy and the Heron into an allegory for coming of age. In a world scarred by conflict, the film captures his belief in children's potential to shape a brighter future. The Boy and the Heron isn't just a film. It's a farewell letter from a master reminding us the magic of imagination and the strength found in perseverance. Miyazaki's films remind us that even in a world of chaos, there's beauty in simplicity. His stories have taken us to magical realms, introduced us to unforgettable characters, and taught us to see the world through eyes filled with wonder. Though he may have announced his retirement many times, the truth is, Miyazaki's work will never fade. His worlds, his characters, and his values live on, inspiring generation after generation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.